Hi, my name is Jill. Welcome to my yoga mindset. Today's class, we're going to begin in a supine position. And of course, I always encourage everyone to have their props available. We're going to be using a strap today, the blanket. And of course, if you have a couple of bolster or pillows or blocks, that's always good to have as an option. So come down to lie on your mat. We're going to start in Savasana. So gently easing yourself down onto your mat. Your legs can be a comfortable distance apart. Allow the ankles to soften and splay out to either side of the mat. Your arms are resting alongside the body, palms facing up towards the sky. And begin to settle into your space. The chin can be slightly tilted, bringing the chin slightly towards the chest, elongating the neck. Maybe rotating the thumbs out in either direction. You may notice this opens up the chest, opening up the heart center. And think about drawing your shoulders down and away from the ears. And begin to notice the breath. And as you bring your attention inward, draw your focus to any sounds you may hear in the room, or maybe sounds you hear outside of the room. Scanning the body, starting at the tip of the toes, and slowly moving up the calves, the legs, the hips. Soften the abdomen. Soften the shoulders. Create space in the jaw, between the teeth. Allow the tongue to rest in the mouth. And begin to deepen the breath. We'll breathe in and out through the nose throughout the practice. And as so many of my other classes are gentle, we'll be holding the poses perhaps for a minute or two, beginning to open up the body, releasing any stress, tension, and finding balance and ease. Maybe thinking of this class as a way to reset, whether it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. And with each inhale, expand the abdomen. And with each exhale, soften, surrender, allowing the body to come a little bit closer to the surface beneath you. Take a moment here to create an intention for your practice. And while it's always a good time to maybe make some resolutions for yourself, I know New Year's is very often the time when people are doing that. And as it's New Year's Eve, maybe thinking a little bit about what you'd like to invite into your life, what you need to let go of, and how you'd like to move forward in the coming year. And doing so with ease and compassion. Repeating your intention to yourself silently 3 times. And we'll begin with some gentle movement. So bringing your legs a little closer together, I invite you to bend the right leg, interlace your fingers behind the right thigh, and gently draw the knee in towards the right armpit. And we're just warming up. So you can either leave that left leg extended, keeping the foot flexed, or if you prefer to start with the knee bent, that's okay too. And moving forward with compassion, right? Accepting where you are right here in this moment. Elbows are drawn towards the mat. And if that leg is extended, you can flex the foot as if you're stepping on the wall on the opposite side of the room. And breathe. Long, slow, deep breaths. Opening up the hips. Opening up the hip flexors. And softening the psoas muscle. That muscle that stores so much tension. On an exhale, maybe release and soften. You can bend the left leg if it's not already bent, and then point your foot up towards the sky, maybe pointing and flexing the toes and rolling the ankle in one direction and then the other. And then bending the knee, I invite you to take the right ankle, placing it on the left thigh, and then you'll interlace your fingers behind the left thigh. And using your right elbow, maybe to gently press into the right thigh, creating a little bit more of a stretch. Flexing the left foot, flexing the right foot. Gaze remains up towards the ceiling. And think about pressing your lower back down into the floor and trying to keep the tailbone connected with the surface beneath you. And breathe. Right, breathe into the places where you feel the tension and gripping. With each inhale, expand. And with each exhale, soften. Draw the navel in towards the spine. And on an exhale, slowly lowering the left foot and then lowering the right. And extend the right leg. And we'll bend the left leg, placing interlacing the fingers behind the left thigh and drawing the left knee towards the left armpit, either extending the right leg, flexing the toes, or you can bend the leg. And you may find that after staying in the pose for a few breaths, you may be able to extend the leg a little further. But if you're feeling a stretch, knowing that you're getting the benefits of the practice, right? Really paying more attention to how it feels in the body. as opposed to how it looks. Flexing both feet, elbows are drawn in towards the torso and down towards the mat, drawing that left knee towards the left armpit. Soften your jaw and breathe. Long, slow, deep breaths. Softening with each exhale and expanding with each inhale. Right, noticing the thoughts and then returning to the breath, returning to the sensation. And on an exhale, we'll release the interlace. Bend the right knee if it's not already bent, lifting the left knee and then placing that left ankle on top of the right thigh, interlacing the fingers behind the right thigh, maybe using the left elbow to press into the left thigh, flexing both feet, protecting the knees, pressing the lower back down into the surface beneath you, allowing the tailbone to descend. And thinking about one long line of energy from the tip of the tailbone up through the crown of the head, feeling this stretch in the left glute. And breathe in and out through the nose. With each inhale, expand, and with each exhale, soften. And if you find your thoughts wander, this is natural. Just bring your focus back to the breath, perhaps even counting the breath as you inhale and counting on the exhale. And on your next exhale, release the interlace and gently, mindfully lower the feet down to the surface beneath you, placing your feet a comfortable distance apart, extending your arms out to T position. I invite you to gently drop the knees over to the right, and perhaps looking over the left shoulder. And then inhale, return to center. And on an exhale, swaying in the opposite direction. Moving at your own pace, inhaling as you come to center and exhaling as you lower. And inhale, coming to center. Exhale as you lower. And then slowly returning to center. And finding your strap. I'm going to return back to that supine position. The knees will be bent. And if you don't have a yoke strap, you can perhaps find a dish towel or a scarf. Homemade yoga props are very good. And then we're going to lift the right foot, place the strap under the ball mound of the right foot, extend the right leg up towards the sky, and then with your left hand and your right, holding on to either side of the strap, flexing the foot, drawing the elbows in towards the torso, and pressing the heel up towards the sky as if you're stepping on the ceiling. And again, you can keep the left leg bent, or you can extend the leg out in front of you for a deeper stretch. honoring where you are today. Soften the jaw, soften your tongue in your mouth, and really think about drawing that thigh bone, the femur bone, into the hip socket, right? Creating a gentle compression. And breathe, drawing the elbows down in towards the torso, down towards the mat. Feeling a stretch in the hamstring. Extending the left leg, flexing the foot, toes are pointed up towards the sky. And staying here, if you're looking for a deeper stretch, holding onto the strap with the right hand, extending the left arm out into T position. We're going to inhale, and on an exhale, gently lower the right leg over to the right. Right, any amount. Mindful that if you feel any pain, it's an indication that you need to back off from the pose. Just wanting to feel a gentle sensation on the inner right thigh as we continue to open up the body. Right, drawing fresh oxygen to those places of tension. Return to your breath. With each inhale, expanding, and with each exhale, soften. And then slowly and mindfully bring the leg back up to center. I'm going to draw the leg to the opposite side. So bending, taking the strap with both hands as we started. We're going to bend the left leg, lift the hips gently, move the hip over to the right, maybe 1 or 2 inches, and then re-extend the leg. Then we're going to take the straps with the left hand, extend the right arm out to T position. Inhale, and on an exhale, lower the leg over to the left. And your left foot will roll outward, so your pinky toe will now be touching the floor, keeping both shoulders rooted down into the surface beneath you. Gaze is up towards the ceiling. And breathing, long, slow, deep breaths. Stretching the right glute. Coming into a gentle twist. And on your next inhale, slowly and mindfully unraveling, returning to the stretch that we began with, holding on to both sides of the strap, drawing the elbows down towards the torso, pressing the foot up towards the sky. And on an exhale, bending that knee, and then we'll release the strap. And keeping the strap handy because we're going to move over to the next side. Realigning the spine. And just for a moment, return to your Savasana pose. Just take a moment here to notice how you feel. Maybe noticing how the right leg feels a little different than the left. Maybe feeling a little more spacious. Maybe even a little bit longer than the left leg. And then we'll move over to the opposite side. So bending both knees, placing the soles of the feet on the floor, extending the left leg up towards the sky, placing the strap under the ball mound of the left foot. Elbows drawn in towards the torso and down towards the mat as you flex the left leg up towards the sky as if you're stepping on the ceiling, activating the biceps as you draw the strap down towards the mat and keeping the right leg bent or extending the leg, flexing the foot, toes pointed up towards the sky. And again, thinking about pulling that femur bone, that thigh bone into its socket. Breathing long, slow, deep breaths, gazing up towards the ceiling, feeling a stretch in the left hamstring. Soften the jaw. And with each inhale, expanding. And with each exhale, soften. And then staying here, or if you're looking for a deeper stretch, taking the strap in the left hand, extending the right arm out into T position. Inhale, and on an exhale, lowering the leg over to the left. I'm a little restricted in space here, so my foot is resting on the wall, but that's okay, right? Because you can use different items in your room maybe as props. So if you're needing support, right, you can even rest that leg either on a block, right? If you're opening up the inner left thigh. I'm actually going to shift over a little bit so I can demonstrate the full pose. And breathing. Gazes up towards the ceiling. Recalling your intention for your practice. Flexing the right foot. Toes pointed up towards the sky. And with each inhale, expanding. And with each exhale, soften. And then I invite you to slowly inhale, coming to center. I'm going to reposition myself on my mat. Bending the right leg, place the sole of the foot on the floor, lifting the hip and bumping the hip over to the left, maybe 1 or 2 inches, re-extending the right leg. And we'll take these straps with the right hand, extend the left arm out into T position. Inhale, and on an exhale, slowly lower the left leg over to the right, keeping the shoulders rooted onto the surface beneath you. That right foot will roll out, and now the right pinky toe will be touching the mat. Stretching the left glute, moving into a gentle twist. And twisting is stimulating to the digestive system, helps to lubricate the spine, creating more flexibility. And you'll feel a stretch in the left glute, the outer left hip. You may notice one side is very different than the other. Soften your jaw. And knowing that at any time you need to come out of the pose, that is an option. I'm wanting to feel some sensation, but not any pain. Staying here for one more long inhale and exhale. And then on your next inhale, slowly returning to center, releasing the strap, placing the strap over to the side, realigning the spine, and once again returning to your Savasana. Noticing how you feel here. And then I invite you to bend your knees, bringing the heels in towards the buttocks, the glutes, your arms alongside the body, and perhaps the tips of your fingers can skim the heels. Your knees are hip distance apart, and placing the palms down into the mat. And gently begin to press into all four corners of the feet and gently begin to lift the hips up towards the sky, pressing down through the palms, the forearms, and coming into a bridge pose, keeping the knees parallel to one another. Gaze is up towards the ceiling. We're opening up the front body. And mindful that the knees don't splay out in either direction, keeping them parallel to one another. Lifting the hips up towards the sky. Remembering to breathe long, slow, deep breaths. Staying here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And on an exhale, lowering, we'll lower the upper body, the upper back, the middle back, and the lower back. Maybe reaching the tailbone a little bit closer to the heels, lengthening the spine. And I invite you to inhale, raise the arms up overhead. We'll gently roll over to the right and find ourselves in a tabletop position. So placing the palms directly under the shoulders, fingers are spread wide, knees are hip distance apart, and we'll move into some gentle cat-cow stretches. So inhale, reach the chest forward, reaching the hips up towards the sky as you lower the abdomen. And on an exhale, rounding, gazes towards the chest, pressing into all 10 fingers, opening the upper back, drawing the navel in towards the spine. And as you inhale, coming forward, and exhale, round. And inhale, forward, finding a neutral spine. Moving into some shoulder stretches, threading the needle. So I'll demonstrate on the left side. I'm going to inhale, raise the left arm up towards the sky. And on an exhale, threading the needle, lowering that arm under the torso, behind the right wrist, and then lowering the shoulder down onto the floor and lowering the left side of the head down onto the floor. Pressing the tops of the feet down and keeping your hips centered as you press into the right palm, feeling a gentle stretch in the outer left hip, and remembering to breathe. Maybe recalling your intention for your practice. Moving into each pose with ease. And then on an inhale, rising up, extending that arm up towards the sky. And on an exhale, returning to tabletop position. We'll move over to the opposite side. So raising the right arm up towards the sky. And on an exhale, lowering that arm under the torso behind the left wrist, lowering the right shoulder and the right ear onto the mat. Pressing the tops of the feet down to the surface, keeping the knees in line with the hips in line with the knees, and breathing, opening up the outer right shoulder. This is a gentle sequence. Staying in longer holds, and staying close to the mat today. And on an inhale, we'll rise up, extend that arm up overhead, and on an exhale, coming back into tabletop position. And then playing with our balance, right? Building up some core strength. With your palms directly under your shoulders, your knees are directly under your hips. I invite you to extend your left leg behind you. Staying here, or if you'd like, extending the right arm forward, bicep in line with the ear, the gaze is towards the mat, and you're flexing the extended foot. Breathing. Working on your balance, working on your core strength and your focus. Gaze is towards the mat. Keeping the spine long from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head. And on an exhale, lower that arm, moving over to the opposite side. I'm struggling with that one a little today. So extend the right leg out, flexing the foot, staying here, or adding on, extending the left arm, bicep in line with the ear, and breathing. They say the poses that are most difficult are usually the poses that we need. So I will be revisiting that side. Long, slow, deep breaths. Gaze is towards the mat. Remembering to keep the neck long. For one more breath here as you inhale. And on an exhale, lower. And widening the knees, the width of the mat, big toes touching. Extending the arms forward, I invite you to reach your hips back towards your heels. You can rest the forehead on the mat, maybe rolling the forehead to the left and to the right. Releasing any tension in the brow. Continuing to open up the hips. Soften your jaw. And think about extending the arms forward. Really reaching and extending, stretching into the armpits. And then on an inhale, we'll rise up, return to tabletop. And then we're going to lower ourselves down onto our abdomen, coming into a Sphinx pose, gentle back bend. So you're going to place your elbows directly under your shoulders. Your palms are pressing down. You're going to zip your feet together, extending the left leg and then the right leg behind you. Big toes touching, pressing down into all 10 toenails. I'm going to lift the chest up as if you're lifting and reaching the chest in between the forearms. And think about energetically dragging the mat toward you. Gaze is forward, chin slightly tilted. Opening up the front body. And mindful that there's no compression or pain in the back, lower back. If so, then it's an indication that you need to back off the pose. Soften the jaw. Pressing down to rise up. And on an exhale, gently lowering down. Placing the palms under the shoulders and then pressing yourself up. Returning to child's pose. And before we go there, just coming to sit on your heels. Gaze is forward. Take a moment here to notice how you feel. And then bowing down, coming into child's pose. Arms can rest alongside the ears. Resting the forehead onto the mat and allowing the shoulders to drape over either thigh. Opening the upper back. And then slowly rising up. I invite you to extend your legs out in front of you. Preparing for a seated forward fold. So flexing the feet, toes pointed up towards the sky, coming to sit up tall, starting in your staff pose, your Dandasana. Pressing the palms down into the mat alongside your hips, shoulders away from the ears. Gaze is forward. Rooting down through the sit bones. As you engage the Mula Bandha, this is your root lock, by gently lifting the perineum, connecting with the surface beneath you, engaging the core, draw your navel in towards your spine, and keeping the chin slightly tucked, engaging the bandhas, really harnessing the energy, the prana that you're creating in your practice. Softening, and on an inhale, raising the arms up overhead, palms facing one another. Inhale, and on an exhale, gently hinging forward and placing the palms on either side of the legs. Or if you're able to reach the feet, you may need to create a slight micro bend in the knees as you bring the ribs towards the chest, towards the thighs. And again, the gaze is towards the feet. And this helps to keep the neck elongated. Breathing long, slow, deep breaths. You may be able to straighten the legs. And when you've hinged as far as you can, keeping that back straight, then maybe lowering the head towards the calves or towards the shins. With each inhale, expanding, and with each exhale, soften and release. And on your next inhale, slowly and mindfully pressing yourself back up, moving into a gentle twist. I invite you to bend the right leg, place the right foot on the inside of the left thigh. Inhale and raise the right arm up towards the sky. Place the right arm behind the right hip. Extend the left arm forward. Gently hinge forward, taking that arm, wrapping it around the right knee. Sitting up tall. Inhale, and on an exhale, gently twisting to the right. Flexing the extended leg, flexing that foot, toes pointed up towards the sky. Shoulders down and away from the ears. And your chin can remain in line with the chest, or if you have the mobility, maybe looking over that right shoulder. Inhale and expanding, and on the exhale, maybe twisting a little bit deeper. And on an exhale, slowly unraveling. Re-extending that right leg. Pausing for a moment here just to notice how you feel. Allowing the body to absorb the benefits of the practice before we move on to the next side. So bending the left leg, placing that left foot on the inside of the right thigh. Extend the left arm up and back, placing the left palm behind the left hip. Extending the right arm forward, flexing the right foot, maybe gently hinging forward and then taking that arm around the right leg. Sitting up tall, chin in line with the chest as you inhale. And on an exhale, gently twist to the left. And again, the chin can remain in line with the chest. Or if you have the mobility, you can gaze over the back left shoulder. But most importantly, the breath. Breathing. Long, slow, deep breaths. Moving with ease. Remembering what brought you here to your mat today. Thinking about how it is you'd like to feel when you finish this practice. Inhale, and perhaps with your next exhale, deepening the pose or not, honoring your body. And on an exhale, slowly unraveling, coming back to center, sitting up here for a moment, again, noticing how you feel. And we'll move into our next pose, which is going to be a wide-legged forward fold. So widen the distance between the feet, sitting up tall. Toes are pointed up towards the sky. I'm going to inhale, staying here, or deepening the pose by exhale, hinging from the hips, and coming into a gentle forward fold. Chin slightly tilted, gaze is towards the mat. Right, hinging from the hips, feeling a gentle stretch in the hamstrings, in the groin, maybe creating a little micro bend in the knees. Right, releasing, softening. Really allowing the surface beneath you to support you. And being fully present with what's happening now. Releasing any judgment. No right or wrong. And you may notice as you stay here, you're able to move a little bit further into the pose. Engage the bandhas, lifting the perineum, engaging the Uddiyana bandha, engaging the core. And on your next inhale, slowly rising up. Bring your legs in closer to one another. I'm going to turn to face the camera. I'm going to move into a side stretch. So we're going to extend the right leg, place the sole of the left foot on the inside of the right thigh. Inhale, on an exhale, twisting the torso toward the bent knee. Extend your right arm over your right leg, placing the left palm on the left hip. I'm going to inhale, and on an exhale, hinge to the right. Holding on to the toes. Think about lifting your chest up towards the sky. Feeling a stretch in the left side body. And staying here or deepening the pose, you can take the right forearm on the inside of the right calf, maybe underneath the right ankle, keeping the left palm on the left thigh, or if you have the mobility, maybe extending that arm overhead, bicep in line with the ear. And think about lifting the chest up towards the sky and breathing. And if you notice your breathing becomes strained, then maybe move back to a previous modification. But you can play with the pose. You also want to be lifting the chest up towards the sky, right? Not slouching forward, right? The idea is to open and extend. And staying here as you inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, we'll slowly begin to unravel. Mindfully coming out of the pose as you went in and moving over to the opposite side. So this time taking the right foot, placing the sole of the foot on the inside of the left thigh. Inhale and twisting toward the bent right leg. Sitting up tall, extending the left arm over the left foot, placing the right palm on the right hip. Inhaling, and on an exhale, gently hinging to the left. Again, shoulders away from the ears, chest is lifting up towards the sky, and staying here or adding on, forearm on the inside of that left foot, and staying here or extending the right arm overhead, bicep in line with the ear, rooting the sit bones down into the surface beneath you, lifting the chest up towards the sky, feeling a stretch in the right side body, and breathing. Breathing long, slow, deep breaths, bringing that prana into the places of tension, and on the exhale, soften. And on your next inhale, slowly beginning to unravel, coming to neutral position, coming to sit, Just take a moment here to notice how you feel. Notice any shift in energy now as compared to the onset of the class. Sitting up tall. Moving into some seated gentle cat-cow to help to neutralize the spine. So palms are on the knees. We'll inhale, lift the chest up towards the sky. And on an exhale, round, draw the navel in. And inhale, lifting the chest forward. And on an exhale, round, drawing the navel in towards the spine. And then inhale, coming to sit. And we're going to be doing a yogic 3-part breath, a Durga pranayama. So I invite you either to remain seated, or if you'd like to come into a supine position, lying down on the mat. So yogic 3-part breath, as the name implies, has 3 parts. So we'll begin by breathing in through the nose, expanding the abdomen, not to full capacity, maybe about 80%. And then we'll exhale. And we'll do those breaths for a couple of times, and then we'll add the second part on where we draw the breath into the torso and expand the rib cage, not only forward, but also side and back, filling it up. And then we'll exhale and empty. The third part we'll add on breathing into the chest up to the clavicle, keeping the chin slightly tilted. And then we'll exhale, starting from the chest, the rib cage, and the torso. I'll guide you through it. So you can either remain seated, or you may have already come down into a supine position. So we'll begin by breathing in through the nose and expanding the abdomen, pausing, and on an exhale, draw the navel in toward the spine and empty completely through the nose. And once again, inhaling through the nose, expanding the abdomen, and on an exhale, emptying completely, drawing the navel in towards the spine. And taking 2 natural breaths. We'll add on. Then we'll inhale and draw this breath down to the abdomen, expanding the abdomen. Pause, expanding the rib cage. Pause. And on an exhale, empty the rib cage and the abdomen. And inhale, drawing the breath down to the abdomen. Pause, the rib cage. Pause. And on an exhale, empty completely, emptying the rib cage and the abdomen. And taking 2 natural breaths here before we add the third part on. So on your next inhale, draw the breath down to the abdomen, expand the abdomen, pause, the rib cage, pause, chest, pause, and exhale completely from top to bottom, emptying the chest, the rib cage, and the abdomen. And then inhaling, drawing the breath down to the abdomen, Pause. Rib cage. Pause. Chest. Pause. And on an exhale, emptying completely, emptying the chest, the rib cage, and the abdomen. And continue on your own. A few more cycles of this yogic 3-part breath. And when you've completed your next exhale, I invite you to return to your natural breath. And we'll slowly move down into our Savasana if you're not already lying down. So I invite you to place a blanket behind the head. If you have a bolster or pillows, placing them behind the knees or the thighs, and gently lowering yourself down. Arms are alongside the body, palms facing up. Allow the ankles to splay out to either side. Gaze is up towards the ceiling. If you have a blanket to cover you as you relax, the body temperature tends to drop. Or perhaps an eye pillow to cover your eyes. Scanning the body, starting at the toes as we did at the onset of the class, and returning to your natural breath. Softening the ankles, the calves, the thighs. Soften the hips as they settle into the surface. Releasing any gripping. Softening the abdomen, the chest, the shoulders. Drawing the shoulders down and away from the ears. Softening the biceps, the wrists, the palms, the fingers. Soften the shoulders, the back of the neck and the jaw, creating space between the teeth. Soften the eyes and the brow. We will remain in this Savasana for 5 minutes. I will mind the time, and then we can end the class together. I invite you to bring some gentle movement back into the body, beginning to wiggle your fingers, your toes, bending your knees, maybe removing any prop that you may have propped under your knees, and stretching your arms up overhead. And then gently rolling over to your right side, supporting your head with your bicep, remaining there for a moment. Your eyes can remain closed. And then gently pressing yourself up to seated position. Placing your palms in front of your heart and bowing your head to your chest, bowing your heart to your ego. I'm going to read an excerpt from Notes from the Song of Life. Listening is emptying out. It means giving up everything. Remove your inner voice and the silent song will enter in. The song is being sung all the time. The breeze that bears this song comes from deep stillness. It is its nature to enter into any silence it encounters. You do not have to capture the song. It is not possible for you to do so. If you would experience the song, you must be silent and listen to the stillness at your core. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste. Look forward to seeing you next time.